Namaste. Namaste to all. Today morning, we are welcoming you all for another high potency lecture from Sudhanshu Shekhar ji. I will start the session by chanting few mantras and then introduce Sudhanshu mantra ji in a very short, brief profile, and then request him to go in for his proposition for his lectures on Drishti-Srishti Vada in prasthana-trayi-bhashya. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Mritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Sahanavotu Sahano Gunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vasudeva Sutan Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Gurum. Yatkrupa Tamaham Vande Paramananda Madhavam. Om Kinjotistava Vanumana Anime Ratrau Pradipadikam Syadevam Ravidipadarshana Vidau Kinjotirakhyahime Chakshustasya Niminanadi Samaye In Yo Darshane In Tatrahamato Bhavan Paramakam Yotisadasmi Prabhu. Sudhanshu Shekhar ji has done his B.Tech in Mechanical Engineering from IIT Kanpur. Subsequently, he cleared his Civil Services examination and was selected for Indian Revenue Services. He currently works as a Commissioner of Income Tax in New Delhi. He has also completed the law graduation from Mumbai University. He is a student seeker and AdvaitaVedanta who tries to live in the teachings in accordance with the Vivarana Prasthana. I would request him to start his lecture. Maybe when time permits him, he can give some distinction between Vivarana Prasthana and Bhavati Prasthana, if at all time permits. Thank you. Over to you, Sudhanshu.
Thank you. Hari Om everyone. I will start the session with a small prayer. Yat Sakchat Satchidanandam Pratyagadvayam Akriyam Tannamami Nrsinghasya Yogi Gamyam Parampadam. So the topic for today is Drishti-Srishti Vada in Prasthana-trayi-bhashya. We know that Prasthana-trayi-bhashya refers to the commentaries by Adi Shankaracharya on three prasthana, namely Nyaya Prasthana, Shruti Prasthana and Smriti Prasthana. Basically, the commentaries on Brahma Sutra, Upanishad and Bhagavad Gita. So commentaries were written by Adi Shankaracharya on these three texts. Now, we need to appreciate that the entire bhashya does not fall in one singular framework. So within Vedanta, there are different prakriyas mentioned. So Shruti and Smriti at a particular place takes one particular framework and explains the purport of Vedanta, that is Advitiya Brahma. So the main teaching of Vedanta is Advitiya Brahma. In order to arrive at that, it takes help of different prakriyas, depending on the stage of spiritual evolution of the aspirant. So primarily, in our Advaita Sampradaya, three stages of spiritual evolution of an aspirant are mentioned. According to that, different prakriyas are three different frameworks have been taught in Vedanta. So it starts with Parinamavada, then it evolves to Vivartavada, and then the final level is Ajatavada or Paripurna Drishti, as Samkshepa Shariraka puts it. So we start at Parinamavada, that this Jagat is a Parinam of Brahman. Then we get the teaching that the world is a Vivarta of Brahman, and at the final Ajatavada level, which is called Paripurna Drishti, the teaching is that there is no creation at all. So creation can be either a parinam of Brahman, it can be a vivarth of Brahman, or there is no creation at all. So Sankshep Shariraka puts it in very beautiful manner that parinam buddhimupamridya puman vinivartayati ath vivartamatim upamridya tam api padartha dhiya paripurna drishti mupasarpati sa. So parinam drishti, vivarta drishti, and paripurna drishti. And the same individual progresses from parinam drishti to vivarta drishti to paripurna drishti. Now within this vivarta drishti, there are again two drishtis. So one says that there are several jivas, one is in bondage and another is free. And the second prakriya within uh, Vivartavada is eka-jiva-vada, that there is only one jiva. So this eka-jiva-vada is what is referred to as Drishti-Srishti Vada. And Nana Jiva-vada broadly resembles Srishti-Drishti-Vada. So Srishti-Drishti-Vada says that here is a world created by Ishwara, and there are several jivas therein. One is in bondage, who is trying to be free. There are other liberated jivas like Shukdev, Vamdev, Raman Maharshi, etc. I am one of the jiva who is in bondage, and I am trying for liberation. That is what Srishti Drishti Vada is. It has elaborate concepts. For example, the concepts of Panchikarana, how exactly this creation happened, etc. Pratikarma Vyavastha. Pratikarma Vyavastha is one of the hallmarks of Srishti Drishti Vada. Ek-jiva-vada or Drishti-Srishti-Vada, in comparison to Srishti-Drishti-Vada, is very simple to understand. However, it has been stated to be at a higher stage, to be applicable to an aspirant at a higher stage of his spiritual evolution. So there are some extremely fundamental differences between Srishti-Drishti-Vada and Drishti-Srishti-Vada. It has been my understanding that majority of the Vedanta texts apply, or they work within the framework of Srishti-Drishti-Vada. However, there are definite instances wherein Shruti, Smriti, Bhashya, they elaborate Drishti-Srishti-Vada as well. They are few in number, but their impact is so huge that it takes the aspirant to further higher level of Ajatavada, or what Samkshepa Shariraka calls as Paripurna Drishti. Now, in this lecture, we will first understand what exactly is Drishti-Srishti-Vada. What is the meaning of Drishti? What are the objections against this Drishti-Srishti-Vada? As we said that this is a very, very path-breaking and fundamental shift in our understanding of Vedanta. Drishti-Srishti-Vada takes us to a completely different paradigm shift in our understanding of how this creation is. So there are several objections. Some opponents say that it is extraneous, it is outside the Shruti, it is outside the Bhashya, it is not there in Bhashya at all. However, our endeavor in this lecture shall be first to understand what is Drishti-Srishti-Vada, what are the objections against it, and most importantly, what exactly are the places within prasthana-trayi-bhashya, wherein Drishti-Srishti-Vada has been described unambiguously. Now there are texts which exclusively deal with uh, Drishti-Srishti Vada. For example, Vedanta Siddhanta Muktavali by Prakashananda. That is a text which elaborately explains Drishti-Srishti Vada. Similarly, Yoga Vasistha is a text which is universally accepted to be propounding Drishti-Srishti Vada. Similarly, Mandukya Upanishad, Karika and Bhashya, they are almost at every stage, at every step, one can find Drishti-Srishti Vada there. So these are the texts which very clearly propound Drishti-Srishti-Vada. So in my lecture, I will not be touching upon these texts. Even Mandukya Upanishad Bhashya, because everyone knows that it is propounding Drishti-Srishti-Vada. So my references will be predominantly from Bhashya like Chandogya, Brihadaranyaka, Prashna Upanishad, and other texts other than Mandukya Upanishad Bhashya. Fine. So here, first we need to appreciate that Drishti-Srishti-Vada has been held in Advaita Siddhanta by sampradaya-vit-Acharyas as the mukhya-vedanta-siddhanta. So Srishti-Drishti-Vada is accepted by one and all as a valid Vedanta prakriya. However, the mukhya-vedanta-siddhanta is Drishti-Srishti-Vada. So in the words of Madhusudan Saraswati in Siddhanta Bindu, he says, he starts this topic of Drishti-Srishti-Vada in the following manner by defining what exactly is Ishwara, what exactly is Jiva within Drishti-Srishti-Vada. So we are having a concept of Jiva and Ishwara in Srishti-Drishti-Vada, but that is different from the concept of Jiva and Ishwara in Drishti-Srishti-Vada. So he would say, I will explain it later. He says, Agyana upahitam bimba chaitanyam Ishvara, Agyana pratibimbit chaitanyam Jiva itiva, Agyana anupahitam shuddha chaitanyam Ishvara, Agyana upahitam Jiva itiva, mukhyo vedanta siddhanta eka-jiva-vada. So my emphasis is on these words. Mukhya-vedanta-siddhanta eka-jiva-vada imam eva drishti-srishti-vadam achakshate. It is this eka-jiva-vada which is also called as, which is also explained as Drishti-Srishti-Vada. So what exactly are the details of Drishti-Srishti-Vada? I will slowly come to that. First and foremost, we need to know what exactly we mean by drishti and what exactly is meant by drishti-srishti. Now, drishti refers to vritti upahita chaitanya. Now, vritti can be either manovritti, that is a modification of mind which reveals the vishaya avachinna chaitanya, means through that vritti we can know a vishaya. So vritti is always vishaya abhivanjak or vishaya chaitanya abhivanjak. In case of Drishti-Srishti-Vada, Manovritti will not be admitted. It is the only Avidya Vritti which is admitted. So, Drishti refers to Avidya Vritti Upahita Chaitanya, and that Avidya Vritti is Vishaya Akara. So, Vishaya Akara, Avidya Vritti Upahita Chaitanya. That is the meaning of Drishti. Now, this Drishti and Srishti have to have identical satta. Now, since Srishti is mithya, Drishti cannot be Chaitanya Matra, because Chaitanya Matra is Satya and Srishti is mithya. So, Drishti cannot be Chaitanya Matra. So, Vishaya Akar Avidya Vritti Upahita Chaitanya is referred to as Vishaya Drishti. Now, someone can ask that this Drishti would also require Drishti-Srishti. So for drishti-srishti of a particular vritti, you would require another vritti and it will go on ad infinitum. So we say no, vritti is swa par nirvahaka, means it sustains both itself and others. So it does not require another vritti upahit chaitanya for its drishti srishti. Now this is the meaning of drishti. But what exactly is the meaning of drishti-srishti? We are using the term Drishti-Srishti Vada. Now, drishti we understood that it is Vishaya Akara Avidya Vritti Upahit Chaitanya. Now, what exactly is the meaning of Drishti-Srishti? So, that has been defined in four manners. The first and foremost feature of Drishti-Srishti is an object is created at the time of its perception. So there is gyatayik sattva, means it cannot happen that the object is there and we are not knowing it. In Advaita Vedanta, in Anirvachaniya Khyati, it is accepted that knowledge cannot happen without an object. So if I know X, then X has to be present, either satya or mithya, that is either vyavaharik or pratibhasik, but the object must be there. That is the basic fundamental principle of Advaita Vedanta, that if I know X, then X must be present. But in Drishti-Srishti Vada, it is this is accepted. However, there is another condition, that if X is present, X has to be known. In Srishti-Drishti Vada, this concept is not there. Now, White House in America might be there. I am not knowing it right now. So there is agyat satta of objects, that things can exist without being known. However, in case of Drishti Srishti Vada, that is not accepted. So we accept gyatayak sattva, means if the object is present, it has to be known. So gyatayak sattva, how to exactly define it? So that is defined as swagyan vyapyatvam. So gyatayak sattva refers to swagyan vyapyatvam. That means the vastu is vyapya and vastu gyan is vyapaka. So vastu is like smoke and vastu gyan is like fire. So if smoke is there, fire has to be there. Similarly, if vastu is there, then vastu gyan has to be there. So that such a vastu is called stated to possess gyatayak sattva. Now, drishti srishti is defined as dosha prayukta gyatayak sattva. Means mere gyatayak sattva is not enough. It has to be dosha prayukta. It has to be coupled with or caused by a dosha. So that dosh we accept in Drishti Srishti Vada to be avidya itself. So there is gyatayak sattva, and since it is caused by a dosha, then it is called Drishti Srishti. The another definition is dosh prayukt agyat sattva abhava. So there is absence of agyata sattva and it is dosh prayukta. It is caused by a defect. Now there is no ati vyapti of this definition, that is overextension of this definition in a tuchha object. Suppose there is horns of hair. The opponent can argue that even the horns of hair are having absence of agyata sattva. It is not existent at all. Therefore, it does not have agyata sattva either. However, in case of tuchha, that is horns of hair, there is no dosha prayuktatva. It is naturally non-existent. Therefore, the ativyapti of this definition does not happen in case of tuchha. Another definition is pratipanna upadhi drishti janya gyatayak sattva. So, for example, in the case of birth of superimposed in anirvachaniya khyati, the knowledge of samanya amsha of substratum is there. So, like in case of Shukti, there is knowledge of idam ansha. However, in this case, the gyatayak sattva of which is born out of knowledge of substratum is a valid definition of drishti srishti. So, pratipanna upadhi drishti janya gyatayak sattva. So, gyatayak sattva of silver is there and it is born out of the knowledge of pratipanna upadhi, that is the idam ansha. So that is another definition of drishti-srishti. And then drashtrantar avidyatve sati gyata eksatva. So no other drashta is accepted in case of drishti-srishti because there is only singular drashta. There is only one drashta. So without being known by another seer, the gyatayaka sattva is called as drishti-srishti. So far we have seen what exactly is the meaning of drishti in Drishti-Srishti Vada, and that refers to Vishaya Akara Avidya Vritti Upahit Chaitanya. That is drishti. And Drishti-Srishti can be defined in four ways. The first is Dosh Prayukta Gyatayaka Sattva. Second is Dosh Prayukt Agyat Sattva Abhava. Third is Pratipanna Upadhi Drishti Janya Gyatayak Sattva. And fourth is Drashtrantar Avidyatve Sati Gyatayak Sattva. So these terms are in Sanskrit, but we can appreciate the concept behind that. And the fundamental thing is this, that Drishti is a modification of avidya in such a manner that Vishaya Upahit Chaitanya is revealed. And Drishti Srishti refers to that kind of Gyatayaka Sattva which is caused by a dosha. Now, if we see the example of illusory snake or illusory silver, then it is very clear that they are having Gyatayaka Sattva. It is never the case that the object is there and it is not being known. So, if illusory snake is present, it has to be known. In case of Sukha, that does not happen. Sukha, Gyatayak Sattva is there, but there is no Dosh Prayuktatva in the view of opponent. So Sukha or Dukha is also having Gyatayak Sattva, but the opponent might argue that it is not Dosh Prayukta. It is there, it is present. So for that, we have given another definition, that is Drashtrantar Avidyatve Sati Gyatayak Sattva. So Sukha and Dukha of Mr. X can be known by Anumana by Mr. Y. So they are having Gyatayak Sattva, but they are having Drashtrantar Vedyatva. So therefore we gave the definition Drashtrantar Avidyatve Sati Gyatayak Sattva. So these are the concepts of Drishti and Drishti-Srishti. It is important to understand these definitions. Otherwise, we might be using the words, but we do not exactly know what we are meaning by the word Drishti and Drishti-Srishti. Now, in Drishti-Srishti Vada, the concept of Jiva and Ishwara are also different. So, here there are two ways in which we explain Jiva and Ishwara. In the first model within Drishti-Srishti Vada, Jiva is defined as Agyan Pratibimbit Chaitanya. So there is Shuddha Chaitanya, which is Brahman, and the Pratibimba of that Shuddha Chaitanya in Agyana is called Jiva, and Agyana Upahit Shuddha Chaitanya or Bimba Chaitanya is called Ishwara. So there is Shuddha Chaitanya, and because of Agyana, there is a concept of Bimba. There is an attribution of Bimbatva in Shuddha Brahman, and there is Pratibimbatva in its reflection. So the reflection in Avidya is called Jiva, and the Bimba Chaitanya is called Ishwara. And Shuddha Chaitanya is Shuddha Chaitanya. That is one model. Second is in which the Agyan Upahit Chaitanya, which was earlier Ishwara, is stated to be Jiva, and Agyana Anupahita Shuddha Chaitanya is called Ishwara. So these are two frameworks. So that is what Madhusudan Saraswati says in Siddhanta Bindu, that Agyana Upahitam Bimba Chaitanyam Ishwara Agyan Pratibimbam Jiva iti. अथवा अज्ञान अनुपहितम शुद्ध चैतन्यम ईश्वर अज्ञान उपहितम जीव इति वा मुख्यो वेदांत सिद्धांत एक जीववादाख्य इमम एव दृष्टि सृष्टिवादम आचक्षते. Now in this Drishti-Srishti Vada, it is the Jiva alone which, owing to its own Agyan, Swa Avarak Agyan, it is the Upadan Karan and Nimitta Karan. In Drishti-Srishti Vada, whatever is seen is pratibhasik. So no differentiation of Vyavaharik Satta and Pratibhasik Satta is admitted in Drishti-Srishti-Vada. It can be said to be Satta Dvaividhyavad. So Srishti-Drishti-Vada is Trividh Sattavad or Satta Traividhyavad. While Drishti-Srishti-Vada is Satta Dvaividhyavad. There are only two Sattas. One is Paramarthik Satta and second is Pratibhasik Satta. So whatever is seen, Drishyam Sarvam Pratitikam. And Jiva is only one in Drishti-Srishti Vada. And it is that singular Jiva which is on account of Shravan, Manan and Nididhyasana through Swakalpit Guru and Shastra. Means the Shastra and Guru are also imagined by that singular Jiva. He attains moksha. And Shukdev, Vamdev, and other liberated beings, which are stated in our Puranas, etc., that they attained liberation, that is only Arthavad. These are the basic ideas of Drishti-Srishti Vada. Now, certain important concepts or fundamental features of Drishti-Srishti Vada I will just enumerate. So first and foremost, the concepts like Panchikaran, etc. are not valid in Drishti-Srishti Vada. They are valid in Srishti-Drishti Vada, but not here, because here the creation is simultaneous. Even in this simultaneous creation, which is Drishti-Srishti Vada, there are two ways to look at it. One is Drishti Samsamaya Srishti, means when there is Drishti, at the same time there is creation. And the another approach or another way is when the Drishti alone is Drishti. So there is no separate creation of the seen object. Rather, the Vishaya Akar Avidya Vritti Upahit Chaitanya itself is Drishti. In either of the two frameworks of Drishti-Srishti Vada, the creation is simultaneous. Means at the instant there is, we can say it Yugpat Srishti. So in case of Srishti-Drishti Vada, creation is sequential. In case of Drishti-Srishti Vada, it is simultaneous. Then the concept of Pratyabhigya, that I saw this table in front of me a moment back, and I am seeing this table now. And we say that this is the same table which I saw a moment back. So a bottle is there in front of me, and I say that this very bottle has been present on this table for so long, for last 4-5 hours. So this bottle is the very same bottle. That is the Pratyabhigya. It is accepted in Srishti Drishti Vada, but in case of Drishti Srishti Vada, this Pratyabhigya is also illusory. Why? Because at every moment there is a new creation. So Devadatta, which is seen now, and Devadatta, which was seen a day back at some other place, they are two different Devadatta. That is the hallmark of Drishti Srishti Vada. Bhavrup Avidya, however, is admitted here. As we discussed, there is no Agyat Satta of object. There is only Gyatak Satta, and that Gyatak Satta also has to be Dosh Prayukta. We saw that only Paramarthik and Pratibhasik Satta are admitted. Pratikarma Vyavastha is not admitted in Drishti-Srishti Vada. Another very fundamental hallmark of Drishti-Srishti Vada is there is complete identity of waking and dream state. So there is no parameter based on which waking and dream can be distinguished. Taking this as the fundamental principle, we say that even waking is also dream. So Mandukya Karika would say, यथा स्वप्ने द्वयाभासं स्पंदते मायया मनः तथा जागृत द्वयाभास स्पंदते मायया मनः. There is complete identity. Aitareya Upanishad also says this. We will see as we come to the Prasthana-trayi-bhashya. We saw that Drishti-Srishti Vada comes within the domain of Vivartavada. Then Jivan Mukti, Prarabdha, etc. are held as Arthavada and not the Mukhya Siddhanta. So here we would say a rather audacious statement that there have been no Gyanis in the past. So we can check Advaita Siddhi, eka-jiva-vada, vichara. In that it is clearly mentioned, and since there is singular jiva, there has to be no occasion of any earlier Gyanis, and hence there is no perception of the world post Jnana either. Now we have said this, that since there is only one jiva, this differentiation of Uttam Adhikari and Mand Adhikari is not valid either. So to say that Drishti-Srishti Vada is for Uttam Adhikari does not make sense, because Adhikari is only one. So for that particular Adhikari, depending on the stage of his evolution, different prakriyas work. At the most initial level of his development, Parinam Vada appeals to him, that this world is Satya, or this world is a Parinam of Brahman. Then he understands that since the Brahman is Nishkriya, it is immutable, there cannot be any Parinam of Brahman. So he comes to Vivartavada. Within Vivartavada, first he sees Srishti-Drishti-Vada, and then wherein there are several jivas, one is aspiring for liberation, one is already liberated. After that, he comes to Drishti-Srishti Vada. Now, why Drishti-Srishti Vada is a requirement? And after Drishti-Srishti Vada, that is the Paripurna Drishti. Why Drishti-Srishti Vada is important? Because something which is imagined cannot have agyata satta. So, kalpitasya agyata sattva abhavat. Something which is imagined cannot have agyata satta. The illusory snake which is imagined in rope cannot exist without being known. So if it appears, it has to be known. So taking this particular idea to its extreme, Drishti-Srishti Vada comes. We say that this world is mithya on the basis of Shruti and also Yukti. So Shruti says, Neh nana asti kinchana, na ih nana asti kinchana. So this Shruti proclaims mithyatva of world. Now, if the world is mithya, it is kalpita, and hence it cannot have agyat satta, and hence Drishti-Srishti Vada applies. So we go in this manner. In Srishti-Drishti Vada, being mithya or being kalpita does not imply that it cannot have agyat satta. So Srishti-Drishti-Vada would also say world is mithya, world is kalpita, but it would not say that it cannot have agyat satta. So White House in America is kalpita, is mithya, both in Drishti-Srishti and Srishti-Drishti. But Srishti-Drishti would say that despite being mithya, it has vyavaharik satta and it has agyat satta. But Drishti-Srishti says ki look, since it is mithya, hence it is kalpita, hence it cannot have agyat satta, just like illusory snake or illusory silver. So basically we saw that the hallmark of Drishti-Srishti Vada is that agyat satta cannot be there. There is only one jiva, and dream and waking are completely identical in Drishti-Srishti Vada. In Srishti-Drishti Vada, the two will be held to be similar. So waking and dream in Srishti-Drishti Vada will be held to be similar but not identical. But in case of Drishti-Srishti Vada, they are identical. And whatever is seen is mental. So waking, the entire waking world will also be mental in case of Drishti-Srishti Vada. And no Jivan Mukti, no Prarabdha. These are all Arthavad in Drishti-Srishti Vada. There is another important feature of Drishti-Srishti Vada which says that during Sushupti there is complete merger of this entire world in Brahman. So in case of Srishti-Drishti-Vada, it will not be said that entire world merges. It will say that sense organs will merge and then prana will continue to be present, but the merger of entire world will not be said. So Drishti-Srishti-Vada will say that no. Sushupti kale sakale viline, that entire thing merges. So these basic fundamental points of Drishti-Srishti-Vada are important to be understood, because then only we can find out in Bhashya as to which portion applies to Drishti-Srishti-Vada and which portion applies to Srishti-Drishti-Vada. So we have enumerated all the fundamental concepts of Drishti-Srishti-Vada. Now we will see that which of the passages of of Prasthana-trayi-bhashya are accepted in some by sampradaya-vit-Acharyas to refer to Drishti-Srishti-Vada. So as I said, Mandukya Upanishad is full of it. It is universally held that Mandukya Upanishad Bhashya propounds Drishti-Srishti-Vada. So we will not go into that. We will see other Upanishad Bhashyas which are rather less understood, to refer to Drishti-Srishti-Vada. So there is one question. I cannot take it right now. So let me first complete, and then if time permits, I will see, or I can be approached other ways. So the first reference which I would like to take from Upanishad is Chandogya Upanishad. Now in Chandogya Upanishad 8.5.4, the Bhashya says, Atyalpam idam uchyate जाग्रद विषया अपि मानस प्रत्यय अभिनिर्वृत्ता एव सदीक्षाभिनिर्वृत्त तेजो वन्न मयत्वा जाग्रद विषयाणाम. So here the objection says that the scenes in dream are the forms of the impressions of the waking state. But it is not that women and others exist there in dream. So there is a discussion in this section. One can go and see that what exactly Chandogya 8.5.4 is discussing. I will concentrate only on the main thing where Drishti-Srishti-Vada is accepted by Bhashyakara. So Bhashyakara says, what you say amounts to very little. Atyalpam idam uchyate. Jagrat Vishaya api, the objects of waking world also, Manas Pratyaya Abhinirvritta eva, objects perceived in the waking state are also accomplished by mental ideas only. So R. Krishnamurti Shastri ji writes in page 268 of Siddhant Lesh Sangrah, which is edited by him, and he says that Chandogya Upanishad 8.5.4 refers to Drishti-Srishti-Vada. He says, Brahma Lokik Padarthanam Swarup Vichar Avsare अत्यल्पम इदम उच्यते जागृत विषया अपि मानस प्रत्यय अभिनिवृत्ता एव इत्यादि. छांदोग्य अष्टम पंचम भाष्यम अपि श्रुतेः दृष्टि सृष्टि परत्वे प्रमाणम. So this particular passage from 8.5.4 is a pramana in the Drishti Srishti Paratva of Shruti. So here one can hold that Shruti applies to Drishti Srishti. So Chandogya Upanishad 8.5.4 refers to Drishti-Srishti-Vada. Now, how we found that this applies to Drishti-Srishti-Vada, which fundamental feature of Drishti-Srishti-Vada is being applied, is that this seen world is mental. Just like dream state, this waking state is also mental creation. So identity of waking and dream, wherever we find it in Upanishad or Shruti or Bhashya or wherever, we have to immediately understand that it is talking about Drishti-Srishti Vada. So here, Jagrat Vishaya api manas pratyay abhinirvritta eva. The moment we see some Shruti or Bhashya saying that waking objects are manas pratyay, we have to understand that it is Drishti-Srishti Vada. Same thing is said in Aitareya Upanishad Bhashya 1.3.12. So later I will give a PDF in the comment section. So one can write that Aitareya Upanishad Bhashya 1.3.12 also applies to Drishti-Srishti Vada on this very same principle of identity of waking and dream. So there Bhashya says, Trayah Swapna, Jagrat Swapna Sushuptakhyaha. So Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti are not three different kind of things. They are all dreams. Trayah Swapna, Jagrat, Swapna, Sushupti. So here, Jagrat, Swapna and Sushupti are all equated and they are held to be dream. Therefore, this passage applies to Drishti-Srishti Vada. It means that Shruti is explaining Drishti-Srishti. The opponent says कि ननु जागरितम प्रबोध रूपत्वात् न स्वप्नः. But Jagrat, it is prabodh rupa. We are knowing things in Jagrat. So it is in the nature of illumination. So how can it be a dream? Bhashikara says, Naivam swapna eva. No, waking is also dream. Katham, how? Paramarth swatma prabodh abhavat swapnavat asad vastu darshanatcha. So Bhashikara clearly says here that just as there is perception of non-existent objects in dream, similarly in waking also there is perception of non-existent objects. So perception of non-existent object means mithya objects. Tuchha cannot be perceived. So wherever asat vastu darshan is stated in Bhashya or Shruti or Smriti, it refers to mithya objects. So here also we saw that Bhashyakara is equating waking and dream. Trayah swapna. So wherever there is identity of waking and dream posited, we have to understand that it refers to Drishti-Srishti Vada. In Srishti-Drishti Vada, a slight difference will be admitted between waking and dream. So Brahma Sutra would say, Vaidharmyat chana swapnadivat. So waking and dream will have some Vaidharmya. But in Drishti-Srishti Vada, there will be no Vaidharmya. Whatever are the features of dream, all the features will be there in waking state also. So we saw first reference is Chandogya Upanishad 8.5.4. Second is Aitareya Upanishad 1.3.12. Right? Then in Brahma Sutra Bhashya 1.3.30, there is a reference to Kaushitaki Upanishad 3.3. So in 3.3 Kaushitaki Upanishad, there is a mention of merger of everything during Sushupti. That has been held in our sampradaya to refer to Drishti-Srishti Vada. Because in Srishti-Drishti Vada, the complete merger of scene is not admitted during Sushupti. So it would say that, okay, fine, the sense organs, the indriyas merge in prana, but prana is present. Look, the person is breathing even while being in Sushupti. The rest of the world continues to exist, continues to appear to other jivas. But in case of Drishti-Srishti Vada, this is not admitted. There is only one jiva, and darshanam srishti, adarshanam laya. That is the punch line of Drishti-Srishti Vada. That darshanam srishti, the very fact of darshana is srishti, or at the time of darshan there is srishti. Both ways, either of the two can be accepted. In Vedanta Siddhanta Muktavali, it is held that drishti eva srishti. In Advaita Siddhi and other places, drishti samsamaya srishti. But darshanam srishti, adarshanam laya. If you don't see, there is laya. So in Sushupti, there is no knowledge of Vishayas. So there is complete merger accepted. So Kaushitaki Upanishad says this only. Kaushitaki Upanishad says Yada supta in 3.3. Yada suptah swapnam na kanchan pashyati. When the person asleep does not see any dream, pashyati ath asmin pran ev ekadha bhavati tada enam. At that time, enam vak sarvaih namabhi sahapeti. Vak merges along with all nama. Chakshu sarvaih rupaih sahapeti. श्रोत्रम सर्वैः शब्दैः सह आप्येति मनः सर्वैः ध्यानैः सह आप्येति स यदा प्रतिबुध्यते यथा अग्निर्ज्वलतः सर्वादिशो विस्फुलिंगा विप्रतिष्ठेरन् एवं एव अस्मात् आत्मनः सर्वे प्राणाः यथा आयतनं विप्रतिष्ठन्ते प्राणेभ्यो देवा देवेभ्यो लोका. So this Kaushitki Upanishad 3.3 has been held to be to propound Drishti-Srishti Vada by sampradaya-vit-Acharyas, by Ratnaprabha, by Anandagiri Swami, by Vidyaranya Swami. So Brahmasutra Bhashya 1.3.30, which refers to Kaushitki Upanishad 3.3, which has been held by sampradaya-vit-Acharyas to refer to Drishti-Srishti Vada, is another evidence from prasthana-trayi-bhashya. So here, which fundamental feature of DSV has been used to promulgate that this bhashya applies to Drishti-Srishti Vada? That is merger of entire world during Sushupti. So Aitareya Upanishad and Chandogya Upanishad Bhashya were using the feature that there is identity of waking and dream, that waking is a mental creation. Thereby we concluded that they apply to Drishti-Srishti Vada. In case of Kaushitki Upanishad 3.3 and Brahmasutra Bhashya 1.3.30, we say that this applies to Drishti-Srishti. This refers to Drishti-Srishti Vada because it propounds the merger of entire scene during Sushupti, which is another feature of Drishti-Srishti Vada. Same is done by Kaivalya Upanishad. It says, Swapne sa jiva sukha dukha bhokta swamaya kalpit jiva loke sushupti kale sakale viline tamobhibhuta sukha rupameti. So it says sushupti kale sakale viline. So Kaivalya Upanishad uh, Shruti is also a Praman in Drishti-Srishti Vada, this particular Shruti. Now, similarly, Prashna Upanishad 4.7 and 4.8, they also promulgate this merger of entire scene during Sushupti. Therefore, this is also held by sampradaya-vit-Acharyas to refer to Drishti-Srishti Vada. What does Prashna Upanishad 4.7 and 4.8 say? I will read out. Sa yatha soumya vayansi vaso vriksham sampratishtanta evam have tat sarvam par atmani sampratishtati. Just as a bird sits on the tree where its nest is there, similarly, this entire world situates in Supreme Atman in Sushupti. So, if you see the Vichar Sagar book by Swami Paramarthanandji, so in page 1445, he says that Prashna Upanishad 4.8 propounds Drishti-Srishti Vada. So in Srishti-Drishti Vada, we saw that entire world does not merge during Sushupti. But in Drishti-Srishti Vada, the entire world merges. So since Prashna Upanishad 4.7 and 4.8 propound that, therefore they are also an evidence in Drishti-Srishti Vada. So I am not only enumerating the references, but also giving because of which fundamental feature we are saying it. Now, uh, Vidyaranya Swami ji in Anubhuti Prakasha at some places clearly mentions that uh, these things which we have discussed, they apply to Drishti-Srishti. So I will just stating the numbers, one can note down and cross check. So one is Anubhuti Prakasha 1.17, then Anubhuti Prakasha 8.67, Anubhuti Prakasha 9.46. So 9.46 is very interesting because he would say, sorry, 9.45. 9.45 is 9.44 to 9.46. They are interesting because he would compare uh, the Drishti-Srishti Vada as a secret entrance to the king. So there is a king who lives in a palace, and there is a main entrance gate. So if someone wants to see the king and wants to enter from the main gate, there will be delay in seeing the king. There will be several stages of security and all, but there is a entrance directly to the king's main chamber. So Drishti-Srishti Vada is akin to that. So avilambat, immediately it results in the understanding of reality. So in verse 48, he would say, Tasmat ih ajat shatruh balake avilambataha pratyak brahmatva bodhartham drishti srishtim avochat. So this Advaita Tattva, as we saw, that it can be understood through Drishti Srishti and Srishti Drishti. But DSV is like shortcut to Advaita Tattva, where elaborate prakriya are not necessary. We have to understand that this waking and dream are identical. Whatever we are seeing, even in this waking world, is merely an imagination, just like dream. And I am the seer. I am the unattached seer of this entire world. So things are happening, and I am seeing them. I am not the doer. Things are happening in my presence, and in me there is no me. So the tattva, the param tattva, which is uplakshit by aham, is different from aham. So aham is also an imagination. Aham iti tavat prathamo adhyasa. So aham is also seen, and the entity which is uplakshit by aham, that is the unattached seer. It is the avidya upahit chaitanya. So avidya upahit chaitanya is the sakshi, and it sees the entire things happening before it. That is how one actually lives Drishti-Srishti Vada. Anyway, so these are the references. Then one most important reference, which will take a little bit of time, is Brihadaranyaka Upanishad 2.1.20. So I will just read out. It says, Sa yathurna nabhis tantunu charit स यथोर्णनाभिः तन्तुना उच्चरेद्यथाग्नेः क्षुद्रा विस्फुलिंगा विच्चरन्ति एवं एव अस्मात् आत्मनः सर्वे प्राणाः सर्वे लोकाः सर्वे देवाः सर्वाणि भूतानि विच्चरन्ति तस्य उपनिषत् सत्यस्य सत्यम इति प्राणा वै सत्यम तेषाम एष सत्यम. So it says that as a spider moves along the thread it produces, and as from a fire tiny sparks fly in all directions, so from this Atma, evam ev asmat Atmana, all prana, all loka, all deva, and all bhuta emanate. And its secret name is truth of truth, Satyasya Satyam. Now, in Advaita Siddhi Drishti-Srishti Vada Vichara, it is explained that Asmat Atmanah refers to Supta Utthit Jiva. It does not refer to Brahman. So Brahma Kartrik Srishti is not there. Rather, Suptothitat Jivat this Srishti is there. So we will see this in a little bit of detail because it is very important to understand. So we Brihadaranyaka Shruti 2.1.20 is held as a praman for Drishti Srishti in our sampradaya, because it says that this entire thing is born, is created when Jiva wakes up from Sushupti. So the opponent can argue, but there is existence of prana in Sushupti. Then why would Shruti again state that this prana is being created? Look, the person is sleeping, but and prana is also there. Then why? What is the need of creation of prana? So it is answered that no, during Sushupti there is no dvitiya. Na tu tad dvitiyam asti tato anyad vibhaktam yat pashyet. So 4.3.23 clearly says Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that न तो तद्वितीयम अस्ति ततो अन्यद विभक्तम यत् पश्येत इत्यादिना सुषुप्तो सकल कार्य प्रपंच लय श्रवणा. तो entire this seen world, the karya prapanch is merges during sushupti as stated in Brihadaranyaka 4.3.23. So that is a pramana, just as Prashna Upanishad 4.7 and 4.8 are pramana in Drishti-Srishti Vada. 4.3.23 is also pramana, and therefore there is no prana in Sushupti, as per Drishti-Srishti Vada. During Sushupti, the existence of prana is admitted in Srishti-Drishti-Vada, but not in Drishti-Srishti Vada. Now, opponent can say, कि भाई in 2.1.19 of Brihadaranyaka, it is said that during Sushupti there are hita nerves which are 72,000 in number. They extend from the heart to the pericardium. So there would be a contradiction with the Shruti if the merger of entire world is accepted in Sushupti. You said that entire world merges in Sushupti, but look here, Shruti itself in 2.1.19 says that hita nerves are there. So how are you saying that the entire Karya Prapanch merges? So the answer is ki not so. It is only to propound the sequence in which Jiva becomes Sushupti that these Hita Nari etc. are propounded, and it is not for propounding the existence of Hita Nari in Sushupti. Now, Asmat Atmana, 2.1.20, Brihadaranyaka says that Asmat Atmana. So that refers to Suptothit Jiv Kartrik Srishti, not Brahma Kartrik Srishti. So, why? Because opponent can say that this does not refer to Jiva but Brahman. But since the usage is Yatra, Yatra Brahmani, Esh Etat Jiva Sushupto Abhut. That is the argument of opponent, that yatra should be referred as Brahman. But in Bhashyakara clearly says that yatra yasmin kale esha vijnanmaya purusha etat swapna shupta abhu. So here also we have to appreciate that the asmat atmana refers to suptothit jiva and not Brahman. So why the question arises that if Drishti-Srishti Vada is the mukhya-vedanta-siddhanta and it refers to equating waking and dream, it propounds merger of entire world during seeing. There is no prarabdha, there is singular jiva, and jivan mukti is arthavada. Then why not Bhashyakara very clearly says this in his Bhashya? Why is there scope for ambiguity that we have to make an effort to find which portion applies to Srishti Drishti, which portion refers to Drishti-Srishti Vada? So here in Bala Bodhini by Yogendranath Bagchi ji, which is a commentary on Advaita Siddhi, he says that Bhashyakara tu drishti srishti paksham na ati sphutayan imam grantham vyachakya mand adhikari jan anuj ghrichaya iti na bhashyadi virodha. So basically, Bhashyakara did not elaborate drishti srishti to a great extent, especially in 2.1.20 and others. One, it is a Guhya Siddhanta. It is for Uttam Adhikari, or we can say at in order to help the person to go from Srishti Drishti Vada to Drishti Srishti Vada. Now, as we see ourselves, Srishti Drishti Vada appeals to majority of persons. That yes, there is a Ishwara and there are so many Jivas. I am one of the Jiva who is in bondage, and therefore this Srishti Drishti Vada applies to majority of the people. However, as we progress in our spiritual evolution, slowly we have to come to Drishti Srishti Vada, and then the Paripurna Drishti Mupa Sarpati Saha. परिणाम दृष्टिमुपमृद्य पुमान विनिवर्तयति यत् विवर्तमति upamridyataam api padartha dhiya paripurna drishtimuksarpati. So that is how we have seen all the references to Prasthana-trayi-bhashya. Mandukya Upanishad I have not covered because that is universally accepted to relate to Drishti-Srishti Vada, and I will try to share a PDF of all the references. Thank you very much.
Namaste. Thank you, Sudhanshu ji. I must say that almost like more than 50% of the audience, the substantial portion of the Sanskrit expositions from Chandogya, Aitareya, Brahma Sutra, Kaivalya, Prashna, Upanishad, etc., were beyond comprehension for many people. But then it was an outstanding exposition. Bimba Pratibimbovad, Avachedvad, Avasvad, Mayanya Rasvad, Vivartavad, and right up to the Ajatvad. This is that world never was there. Swakale Satyavadhati Prabodha Samaya Sadbhavati, or maybe Nehana Nasti Kinchana, or Yatoa Imani Bhutani Jayante, how the conflict should be resolved. It was really fantastic. It was really fantastic for all of us. It is going to be a big homework for all of us to study all these things which you explained in terms of Drishti-Srishti Vada and srishti-drishti-vada. This is the act of observation, object, subject, and tools. It's Anubhavak, Anubhavya, and Karan. The Anubhavak, Anubhavya, Karan, ekatva, is the ultimate Vedanta Siddhanta, is that Gata-drashta has to be Gata-bhinna. So if Bhinnatva is not there, then Drishtutva is not there, Pramatratva is not there, Prameyatva is not there, Karana is not there. It was really fantastic. I am literally awed that on this particular subject from you is that when do you find the time for study of income tax, for deciding the mundane 600 pages exposition for the purpose of determination of income, deductions, and then appeals and revisions, and when you find the time for this a very highly technical Vedanta study. It's fantastic. My sincere pranams to you. My sincere pranams to you. I will seek definitely blessings from you for the purpose of better AdvaitaVedanta study for us. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, viewers. Today evening, we have another session from primary and secondary sadhana in AdvaitaVedanta by Brahma Vidananda, Swami Brahma Vidananda. Thank you.